Imagine you're sitting beside a fire nearly 12,000 years ago. The hunt is over. The meat is roasting above glowing coals. Children are chasing each other through the darkness, and a smoke slowly rises into a sky filled with more stars than you have ever seen. Nobody owns a house. Nobody has written a single word. Kingdoms, money, and cities do not exist. Tomorrow depends entirely on whether your tribe can find food again. Then something unusual happens. An old hunter reaches into a small leather pouch and quietly places 4 polished animal ankle bones onto the ground. Every conversation stops. Another hunter smiles and places his favorite flint knife beside them. A woman removes a necklace made from rare seashells collected hundreds of miles away and carefully lays it beside the knife. Nobody explains the rules. Nobody needs to. Within seconds, a crowd forms around the fire. The old hunter shakes the bones in his hand before throwing them into the dust. Every eye follows their movement. The bones stop rolling. One man celebrates. Another lowers his head in disappointment. Someone has just won. Someone has just lost. And without realizing it, you may have witnessed one of the earliest gambling games in human history. But when did humans actually begin gambling? Was there one person who invented it? Or has the desire to risk something valuable always lived inside the human mind? The answer begins long before the first casinos, long before playing cards, and even before civilization itself. In fact, the story may begin millions of years before the first human ever walked the earth. Nature has always rewarded risk. A wolf that chased larger prey sometimes ate better than the rest of the pack. A bird willing to explore an unknown forest could discover an untouched source of food. Even our ancient ancestors survived because they constantly faced uncertainty. Every hunt was a gamble. Every river crossing was a gamble. Every decision to explore beyond familiar land carried enormous danger. Sometimes risk meant death. Other times it meant survival. Evolution slowly shaped a brain that didn't simply tolerate uncertainty. It learned to anticipate it. Modern neuroscience shows that dopamine, often called the brain's reward chemical, is released not only when we win, but when we believe we might win. That feeling of suspense, the excitement before discovering the outcome, is incredibly ancient. Long before humans gambled with coins, our brains were already gambling with survival. But surviving and playing games are two different things. So when did simple risk become entertainment? Archaeologists believe the earliest clues come from small bones called astragali. These ankle bones from sheep, goats, deer, and other animals have a strange property. Because of their uneven shape, they land in only a few possible positions when thrown. Thousands of years ago, people noticed this. Instead of throwing ordinary stones, they began tossing these polished bones into the air. Some bones were left completely natural. Others were carefully carved, polished, painted, or decorated with tiny markings. These weren't random leftovers from dinner. Someone had spent valuable time transforming them into special objects. Archaeologists have discovered collections of these bones across Europe, the Middle East, and Central Asia. Some are more than 5,000 years old. Others may be much older. At first, researchers believed they were simply children's toys. Then they noticed something unusual. Many were found inside graves beside valuable jewelry, weapons, and ceremonial objects. Why bury toys with the dead? Another theory emerged. Perhaps these bones weren't just used for games. Perhaps they were used to communicate with destiny itself. Ancient people rarely separated luck from spirituality. If the bones landed one way, perhaps the spirits approved. If they landed another, perhaps the ancestors were sending a warning. Suddenly, throwing bones became much more than entertainment. It became a conversation with fate, and humanity would spend the next several thousand years trying to understand the answers. As centuries passed, those simple bones traveled with humans wherever they settled. Small hunting camps slowly became villages. Villages became cities, and the mysterious game beside the campfire evolved with them. Around 5,000 years ago, in ancient Mesopotamia, archaeologists discovered some of the world's oldest true dice. Unlike animal bones, these were carefully carved into cubes with marked sides. Someone had taken a random object from nature and transformed it into a tool designed specifically for chance. That simple invention changed everything. Gambling was no longer limited by the shape of a bone. Humans had learned how to manufacture luck itself, but dice weren't only used to win valuable possessions. In many cultures, they were believed to reveal the will of the gods. Before making important decisions, people sometimes cast lots, believing invisible forces controlled the outcome. Kings consulted priests. Warriors asked for signs before battles. Ordinary families searched for answers about marriage, harvests, or journeys. To modern eyes, it looked like gambling. To ancient people, it looked like destiny. Then the story spread south to Egypt, where games became part of everyday life. One of the most famous was Senet, a board game played by farmers, nobles, and even pharaohs. Beautiful wooden boards have been found inside royal tombs, including the burial chamber of Tutankhamun. At first glance, Senet seems like simple entertainment, but historians now believe it carried a much deeper meaning. Every move across the board symbolized the soul's journey through the afterlife. Winning wasn't only about defeating another player, it represented safely reaching the next world. Once again, chance and spirituality walked side by side. Farther east, ancient China developed its own games of luck. Historians believe early lottery-like systems may have helped raise money for public construction projects. Whether every detail of that theory is correct is still debated, but one fact remains clear. Civilizations separated by thousands of miles all invented games based on uncertainty. They spoke different languages, worshipped different gods, and built different societies, yet they all discovered the same irresistible feeling: the excitement of not knowing what would happen next. This raises an important question. Was gambling invented, or was it inevitable? Psychologists think our brains may hold the answer. Imagine a prehistoric hunter deciding whether to chase a massive bison or settle for catching a rabbit. The rabbit is safer, but the bison could feed the tribe for weeks. Taking risks often produced the greatest rewards. Over thousands of generations, natural selection favored people who could balance caution with courage. Gambling activates many of those same ancient reward circuits. The prize may have changed, but the anticipation remains exactly the same. In other words, when someone rolls dice today, part of their brain may still be responding as if survival itself were hanging in the balance. Then came the civilizations that turned gambling into an obsession. Ancient Greece embraced games of chance, and myths claimed even the gods rolled dice. Whether true or not, those stories revealed something important. People believed luck wasn't random. It was controlled by forces greater than themselves. The Romans took gambling even further. Soldiers played dice before battles. Merchants placed bets in crowded markets. Wealthy nobles gambled enormous fortunes during lavish banquets. Even when laws tried to restrict gambling, people continued playing in secret, because the real attraction was never just money, it was hope, the belief that one lucky throw could change everything. But gambling also exposed humanity's darker side. Friendships ended over lost wagers, families argued, fortunes disappeared in a single evening. Ancient philosophers warned that chasing luck without self-control could destroy even the wisest person, yet people kept returning to the game. Modern science helps explain why. Unpredictable rewards activate powerful reward circuits inside the brain, making uncertainty feel exciting. Ancient people knew nothing about dopamine, but they understood that feeling perfectly. They simply called it luck. Today, animal bones have become dice, playing cards, roulette wheels, and digital apps. The tools have changed, but the emotion has remained exactly the same. For one brief moment before the result appears, every possibility feels real. That same feeling connected a prehistoric hunter beside a campfire and a modern person looking at a screen. So when did ancient humans start gambling? No one truly knows. There was no single inventor and no single moment. Gambling slowly emerged from the risks of everyday survival and grew alongside civilization itself. Long before humans learned to count money, they had already learned to hope. And perhaps that's why gambling has survived every civilization ever built. Beneath every bet lies something far older than history itself, the timeless human belief that the next chance might change everything.